Hi, I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. And today, we're gonna look at the 2023 RX and the 2023 Highlander to decide if you're looking for a mid-size SUV, do you go with the Lexus or do you go with its cousin, the Toyota Highlander? But before we get into that, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and check out some of our older videos. We have lots of different comparisons and some more really cool Lexus and other car videos coming down in the pipeline. Okay, let's get right into it. So, taking a look at the front ends, there is a huge difference here. You would never know that on the other side of those hoods, there's a very similar powertrain. Looking at it on the Lexus, we have a little bit more sleek angles, a front end that really dips down into that borderless nose that some people love and some people hate. And that leads us to our F-Sport spindle grille. And also we have a lot of nice fins, angles, and decorations here on the front. But the headlights are probably what really ties all this together and makes it seem like a luxury vehicle, because it is a luxury vehicle, especially that daytime running light that runs in the middle of that frosted Lexus signature headlight or daytime running light. Over to the Highlander, it still looks really nice. Like, we have what seems to be a bigger grille, and that's mainly because that hood doesn't quite angle down as much. It has a very steep drop off, still sort of the Toyota version of a spindle grille, which is nice to see. This model is the XLE. I'm not sure if the XSE, which is the sport model or sport package, has a more aggressive grille. I'm not too sure. But on here, we do still have some angles, a little more subtle than on the Lexus, and still some sort of matte black, matte gray plastic at the bottom of that grille, which seems pretty rugged. I think overall, the Highlander really comes off as being bigger because of that front grille and hood. The headlight setup isn't anything to write home about, not on this package at least. I think traditionally on the higher limited packages and maybe the XSE even, the headlights do seem a little bit more high end, but for the XLE, they're more function than form, that's for sure. Okay, looking at the side profile of the Highlander, it still looks very big. In fact, most people say when they see the side of the Highlander, it seems more like a minivan than a midsize SUV. I think that's just because of how long it is. We still have some really nice body lines here. On this gray, you can't see it as much. There's a small edge there. The actual roofline goes up and stays there for the length of the vehicle and then drops off right at the end instead of a sort of gradual, more sleek, sporty look. But that is because of how much space it is in the back. So again, a lot of function here on the Highlander. We also have an 18-inch wheel on the XLE, opposed to, the Lexus that has like a 21-inch wheel in most packages. So it is a little bit different. I'm sure when you go up in package, it probably goes to a 20-inch, but I'm sure these 18-inch probably ride very smooth like. Also, I should mention there also is a really nice body line kind of in the middle of this door that comes from the bottom to the top and into the fender, that when you're looking down the body, it gives it a little bit more of a wide look. So that's just something to point out. Another thing is the handles are the tried and true typical Toyota door handle instead of the new E-latch that we're seeing on all of the new Lexus models. So that is a big differentiator when you look at the two side by side. Now, I will say, I used to work for Toyota, and a lot of guests of ours at the Toyota dealership thought that the Highlander was made in the same factory as the RX 350. Now, there is a lot of similarities, but they are built totally separate in different parts of North America. In fact, the RX is built in Cambridge, Ontario. In the Highlander, I think it's in the States somewhere for sure. I want to say it's Kentucky, something like that. I'm probably wrong. Someone will let me know in the comments for sure. But they are not built on, in the same factory, similar platforms, but still a lot of differences. Which brings me to the side of the RX. So here we see a little bit more body lines in terms of like, you know, sharper edges. The fenders, or sorry, the mudguards are painted on this particular model. We have, you know, blacked out mirrors and the E-latch handle. So that electronic door handle, which I absolutely love. The roof line, we see a little bit more sleek, a little bit less function. So instead of, you know, going up and staying there, it immediately sort of starts wrapping around and down. And even this panel here seems a lot smaller than on the Highlander cousin because of how much space is in the Highlander, especially with that third row. Also, we have a 21-inch wheel on this particular model, but even the other packages have like a 19 or 20-inch wheel. A little bit of plastic guarding at the bottom of the doors, but overall you can definitely see a lot more form and maybe a little bit less function, but we'll get over that when we go inside. Back of the RX 350, the taillights. So we have that single taillight that wraps all the way to the other side and underlines the LEXUS, which is the new Lexus logo. And we have a really nice slanted windshield there with a hidden wiper, by the way. But for the golf club test, we have lots of room once you get in. Actually, you could almost, with this driver, which I borrowed from Joey, so thank you, Joey, you can almost clear both sides, but I angle it just a little bit. Lots of space. You could definitely fit at least 2 golf bags. With a cart, or those little dolly carts, you'd have to probably fold down a seat or 2, depending if you wanted to lay them lengthwise or widthwise, widewise. But still lots of space in the cargo area for golf and other fun summer activities. Okay, so the back of the Toyota Highlander, we have this little wiper that's at the bottom of the windshield instead of being tucked up underneath like in the Lexus. Also, I did expect it to be a little bit bigger, but I'm sure it does the trick. Also, the taillights have an interesting character to it where they're sort of speckled in these little dots that when the light hits them, it makes it, I don't know, it just makes it look whatever the opposite of sharp is, like maybe a little bit blurry or washed, and I really like it. It kind of creates this really cool visual effect. But let's take a look at the space. Really smooth, quick opening, which is important, and the golf club test. It actually fits without having to angle it. So it is a little bit wider, that opening, it seems, and absolutely more room depth-wise or lengthwise, where I could almost fit this driver even lengthwise like this, and not even at the bottom, at the top as well. So tons and tons of room there. And then once it is in, there's lots of width as well. And also the height seems to be bigger than the RX, so that's good. So with the third row folded down is how I have it right now, because the Highlander does have a third row. There's a ton of space back here. Enough that I would think, even if you didn't need the third row, it's just nice having this big open space here. I know my family would probably be using that space to buy stuff off Kijiji and garage sales and stuff like that and use it more like a truck, but for anybody else, you can just use it for cargo stuff. Okay, so the back of the Toyota Highlander, when that third row is up, there's still a lot of space back here for an SUV. So we still have at least enough width of pretty much a floor mat. So not too bad. You could still use this for a couple suitcases or some groceries. To put it in perspective, why this is so important to me is if you know what a Lexus GX is, the GX 460, when that third row is up, there's only like this much space. It's pretty much useless. Maybe you could fit a driver, I don't know. But back here, that extra bit, maybe, I don't know how many feet that is, but the extra foot that you have makes it way more useful when having that third row up. So I really like to see that. Great job, Toyota. Okay, so in the Toyota Highlander, there is a lot of things to look at. The first impression when I sat in it, and again, I'm used to the RX 350 from Lexus, I think these seats are a tad bit softer than the Lexus. I know that sounds crazy because the Lexus is so much more money, I think it's because this XLE doesn't have perforated seats, and almost every RX 350 does. And I think because of that, there's more cushion. Now, it does feel like a Softex synthetic leather, which is pretty durable, because if it wasn't the Softex, I would worry about it ripping easy because of that extra cushion underneath. But I think it's gonna hold up well, which is nice. The layout is great. It is definitely closer to you in terms of, you know, how far away the dash is. And it's very flat, so it's not like the dash above the screen goes for miles, like in some of the Lexuses, so it's very functional. There's a lot of things I love. There's a few that stick out. One of them is your phone sits right here, which is just a little bit higher than on the Lexus, but it's enough that it's more in my visual, because there's so many times that I leave my phone on the wireless charger in the Lexus, and I go up to a boardroom meeting and I'm sitting there and I'm like, my phone is in my car and there's nothing I can do about it at this point. Probably helps me stop scrolling Instagram, but it's still annoying nonetheless. And on this Highlander, it seems to be a little bit more in front of me. Also, the center console slides open, and I forgot that they've done this for years, and it's massive. It's really deep. The fact that this kind of, and it doesn't even look like it would flex like that, and it does. And it works really well. A little bit soft. It is a little plasticky, but nothing wrong with that. The rest of the fit and finish on this XLE is like a textured plastic, probably super easy to keep clean, so that would be great. It is, like I said, it sounds like plastic, it looks like plastic, and that's totally fine. So overall, great interior. It does have pretty much the same multimedia system as the Lexus, just in a different package. It's a smaller screen on this XLE. Again, those higher packages, that probably gets a little bit bigger, but even the way it touches seems very familiar to me, except for it does beep, which I just noticed. I don't know if you can hear that. It does beep, and it's quick, but it beeps. So that's a little bit different, but the actual system itself looks like the Lexus. On this multimedia in the center, it doesn't look like a Lexus. This looks totally new to me. I think it's cool. It's sharp, it's got lots going on there. I'd probably have to play with it longer to understand it all, but it seems to work. So overall, this is not bad for what it is, for the price point too. Okay, so sitting in the second row on the Toyota Highlander, it feels like a van, and I mean that in a good way. Tons of space back here. I'm 6'1", I have a lot of headroom. There's also a vent near my head, which I think would be pretty cool. I think it would keep me warm and or cool. Like I can almost shoot it right at the top of my face, which is nice. And I do have climate control back here for this rear cabin. On this XLE, we have some sun visors, or hater blockers as I call them. That's something that people ask about all the time, especially with kids, because it just blocks that UV a little bit more. Also, the seat reclines, and also I can slide it forward, and it is really smooth to slide. So even if there was someone behind me, I'm sure I could have this a couple inches in front and still have more space than a lot of other mid-size SUVs. It seems like it's great. Okay, so sitting in the third row of the Toyota Highlander now, and I almost wish we filmed me getting back here because it was hilarious, but Mark asked me to do a video sitting in the back, and here it is. It's not bad. I'm 6'1", my head is kind of touching a little bit here, but not in a way that I wouldn't be able to sit straight. Just more, it just tickles my hair a little bit, but I probably have too much hair gel in anyway. I have a couple cup holders back here. This seat right now is clicked a little further forward than I would be if I was sitting in front of myself, but I still have room. I still have at least 4 to 5 inches that I can move that back and still be here. My leg is at a little bit aggressive of an angle, but still not to the point that I wouldn't be able to sit back here for a longer ride. I would just want to make sure whoever I was back here with was someone I know quite well, or a friend, because of it is a little bit tight in terms of that. But overall, it's not bad. We have some vents. There still is trunk space even with it like this. And honestly, not bad. Not bad at all. When the RX 350L came out, we were hoping for this much space in that third row, and it just didn't happen. But Toyota has been able to do it. I think if you need a minivan but don't want a minivan, this could work for you for a lot of different reasons. Okay, back in the Lexus RX 350 interior. So the main differences here is these are sports seats. So they are a little bit more stiff. They are cooled, so they are perforated, which is nice in the summertime. Also, the console doesn't seem as big as the Highlander, and it does open each way instead of that slide that we saw. And there's also less utility. What I mean by that is, you know, that Highlander had different layers of places to put things. This is way more simple and seamless, and, you know, a little bit touch of elegant there with the materials like ultra suede, some aluminum, some soft touch leathers, and some ambient lighting. All really tie this in to be a little bit more luxurious. The seats are definitely more sporty, but the Highlander is definitely more utilitarian. If that's even a word, I'm pretty sure it is, but that's what that Highlander would be. The screen is very similar in terms of the function, but it's like that nice, you know, cell phone glass, and it's bigger and a little bit more HD, which is kind of expected for the price point. Okay, back of the RX 350. It's still luxurious back here. So we still have heated and cooled seats in this package, which is great. We still have some of that ultra suede, lots of headspace, even for me being 6'1". The panel roof on this particular package really lightens things up back here. We got a couple USB ports. So overall, it's more about form, I would say. A little bit of function, a lot of comfort, a lot of luxury stuff in this back seat, to the point that even if the owner was sitting back here, like the owner of the vehicle, they'd be happy. They don't have to necessarily drive it, which I'm sure in some countries, the RX probably does that. So not bad. So even though the two of them come in with seemingly similar packages, the RX 350 does have approximately 10 more horsepower than that Highlander, even though they're pretty much the same power plants. The only difference I could see is that on the gas cap of the RX 350, it says premium gas, and on this Highlander, it did not say that. So that could be that extra measurement of horsepower. Also, the fuel economy is rated slightly better on the RX as well. That could be because of the weight, because I think that Highlander being a little bit bigger has a little bit more weight. But before you decide which one is right for you, I'm just gonna give you one more little bit of detail. So a long time ago, like 10 years ago, I worked for the factory building RX 350s. And one time when I was on the assembly line, they sent us some Highlander parts. And the only difference was they were door lock cables. And the door lock cables for the RX 350, instead of just being a cable in a sleeve, it had an extra foam barrier about this big around that cable, so that the inside of that door panel would have less rattles and a little bit more sound deadening. And the Highlander ones that came shipped in that box did not have the foam. The other thing was, one time they shipped us the window motor for the Highlander, and on the RX, the reason it wouldn't work is that the RX window slows down at the end when you raise it up. So a little bit more luxury feel. But which one is right for you? I would say if you are looking for function, if you want, you know, to use a third row seat because the RX doesn't have it, if you want more cargo space, if you are gonna have kids and family and use this as a family vehicle, the Highlander wins that race all day long because of the extra space inside and just the overall utilitarian aspect of it. However, if you don't need to have kids and people and, you know, cargo every day, but you want a little bit of that extra class, bigger brakes, stickier tires, a little bit sportier feeling, but still want to have people in it sometimes and still want to be higher up and in the snow and all this other stuff, and still want a midsize SUV, the RX blows it over the water because of that extra level of craftsman. Now, it is a big price jump, don't get me wrong. The RX is a big jump in price from the Highlander, and sometimes, you know, a little bit less functional, but it's up to you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you go luxury, sporty RX, or the very practical and very useful Toyota Highlander? Anyways, thanks for watching. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines, part of Performance Auto Group. And please continue to watch, subscribe, and comment below for any other videos you would like to see in the future. Thanks for watching. Take care.